If you had to pick only 5 foods to build a survival pantry around, most people would reach for the convenient version of each one. The one that's easiest to buy, not the one that actually lasts. That single habit is the difference between a pantry that holds for 2 years and one that holds for 30. These 5 categories cover everything a long-term food supply actually needs. And in every single case, the version most people buy isn't the one that gets the job done best. Drop a comment. Which of these 5 do you think you're already getting wrong? Number 5. Raw sunflower seeds. Most stockpiles lean entirely on canned meat, freeze-dried protein pouches, or peanut butter for fat and protein variety. All useful, but all either expensive per serving or limited in nutrients beyond protein and fat. Raw sunflower seeds, kept in the shell, deliver a meaningfully different nutrient profile: protein, healthy fat, vitamin E, and magnesium, in a snack format that requires no preparation, no water, and no cooking. The shell itself adds a layer of protection against oxidation that pre-shelled seeds don't have, which extends practical shelf life. They're inexpensive, available in bulk almost anywhere, and unlike a lot of survival snacks, they don't read as an obvious ration. They're just a normal snack people already eat by choice. Shelf life. In shell, stored cool and dry, commonly 1 to 2 years at peak quality, longer if vacuum sealed. A fat and micronutrient gap covered. The next item fixes a deficiency most grain and bean stockpiles don't realize they have. Number 4. Ascorbic acid, vitamin C powder. Here's the mistake almost everyone makes. Assuming a few cans of fruit or vegetables in the stockpile means the vitamin C question is handled. It mostly isn't. Vitamin C is one of the least heat-stable nutrients in food. Canning and prolonged storage both reduce it meaningfully over time, and grains, beans, and most canned meats contain almost none to begin with. Historically, this exact gap is what caused scurvy among sailors on long voyages who had plenty of preserved grain and salted meat, but nothing to cover vitamin C. Pure ascorbic acid powder is the inexpensive, indefinite shelf life fix almost no stockpile includes. A small amount dissolved in water provides a meaningful daily dose, and the powder itself, kept dry, sealed, and away from light, degrades extremely slowly compared to vitamin C in food form. It's not a food in the traditional sense, but it solves a real nutritional blind spot that the other 4 items on this list don't touch. Shelf life, properly sealed and kept dry, several years at full potency, with gradual rather than sudden loss of effectiveness over time. The hidden nutrient gap covered. The next item is one most people buy in the wrong form entirely. Number 3. Dried pinto beans. Most people stock canned beans because they're convenient. No soaking, no cooking time, ready in minutes. That convenience comes at a real cost in a stockpile built for the long term. Canned beans typically run a 2 to 5 year shelf life and take up significantly more storage space and weight per serving than the dry equivalent. Dried pinto beans, sealed properly in an airtight container with an oxygen absorber, commonly last 20 to 30 years, roughly 10 times longer, at a fraction of the price per serving and a fraction of the storage footprint. The trade-off is real. Dried beans need soaking and a longer cook time, which matters if fuel or time is limited. The honest answer is to stock both. A smaller supply of canned beans for the early convenience matters phase of any disruption, and a much larger supply of dried beans for the long haul. Pinto beans specifically deliver complete protein when paired with rice or another grain, along with fiber and iron that most canned proteins don't provide in comparable amounts. Shelf life: 20 to 30 years properly sealed and stored dry. The convenience trap solved. The next item has a shelf life range so wide that buying the wrong version of it can cost you decades of storage life for no reason. Number 2. Honey. Honey is one of the only foods with a genuinely indefinite shelf life. Its low moisture content and natural acidity create an environment hostile to the bacteria and mold that spoil almost everything else. Properly sealed, it doesn't go bad. It can crystallize over time, but that's reversible with gentle warming. Here's where most people get it wrong. A meaningful amount of honey sold in stores is blended or cut with cheaper sugar syrups, a known issue in the honey industry, which changes both the flavor and the storage properties you're actually paying for. Buying raw, unfiltered honey from a source you trust, rather than the cheapest bottle on the shelf, matters more here than with almost any other item on this list. Beyond its role as a sweetener, honey works as a preservation tool for other foods and provides a fast, calorie-dense energy source that requires no preparation at all. Shelf life. Effectively indefinite when properly sealed and kept away from moisture contamination. The right sweetener, from the right source, covered. And now, number 1, the single most consequential, wrong choice most stockpiles make. Number 1. Whole wheat berries. This is the one almost everyone gets backwards. Most people stock flour because flour is what you bake with, and it feels like the obvious choice. But flour, whole wheat or white, has already been milled, which exposes the natural oils inside the grain to oxygen. Those oils go rancid relatively quickly, giving milled flour a practical shelf life of roughly 6 months to 2 years at room temperature, depending on the type. Whole wheat berries, the intact, unmilled grain, are a completely different story. The bran layer that surrounds the kernel protects those same oils from oxygen exposure until the grain is actually ground. Properly sealed in mylar with an oxygen absorber, whole wheat berries are widely documented to store for 20 to 30 years, sometimes longer, with no meaningful loss in quality. The practical answer isn't to abandon flour, it's to store the berries and grind only what you need with a hand mill or grain mill as you go. That single shift in what form you buy the grain in is the difference between a wheat supply that's usable next year and one that's usable for a generation. Wheat berries also cook directly as a whole grain, boiled like rice or barley, for anyone without a mill at all, which makes them useful even without the grinding step. Shelf life, 20 to 30 plus years properly sealed, versus a fraction of that for any milled flour. 5 foods. 5 categories most stockpiles already try to cover. The difference isn't whether you have them, it's whether you bought the version that actually survives the years you're counting on it for. Sunflower seeds, ascorbic acid powder, dried pinto beans, raw honey, and whole wheat berries. None of these require giving up the convenient versions entirely. Canned beans, refined flour, and store-bought snacks still have a place for the short term. The point is, making sure the bulk of what you're relying on for the long term is actually built to last that long. Drop a comment. Which one of these 5 are you switching to the right version of?